When a young boy's cat goes missing, his father chooses to visit a shelter 18 months later in search of a new companion. The boy is heartbroken and adrift without his cherished feline friend, and his dad hopes that a new cat can mend his son's shattered spirit. However, what they discover at the shelter takes them by surprise. Ronnie was always an energetic and inquisitive child. As he grew, he found a unique companion in the family cat, Phoenix, who shared his adventurous spirit. The vibrant ginger cat was lively and had been Ronnie's shadow since he could walk. Although he had an older brother with whom he shared a bond, nothing compared to his connection with the cat. They spent their days playing outside and their nights curled up together. The family cherished the closeness between the cat and the little boy, especially Tom, who loved seeing his son's joy. When they started their family, they were uncertain how Phoenix would adjust, but he embraced both boys as additional playmates. Having joined the family as a kitten, Phoenix was now a settled 5-year-old. Like any cat, Phoenix enjoyed exploring and roaming around his surroundings. He had a taste for adventure, but he always returned home to cuddle with Ronnie at bedtime. However, one day, the unexpected happened. Phoenix didn't return home. This was highly unusual for him, causing Tom and his wife, Michelle, to feel immediate concern. Phoenix had always returned and was frequently seen nearby, so they knew he didn't wander far. Explaining to Ronnie that his cherished cat was missing would be challenging. The young boy would inevitably have questions, and they wanted to avoid distressing him. They figured Phoenix would reappear later that evening, so they reassured their son that Phoenix would come home soon and that he would see him in the morning. They just hoped it would turn out to be true. Tom stayed awake all night calling for the cat, but Phoenix never showed up. When Ronnie awoke without his furry friend beside him, it felt strange and upsetting. He instantly called for his mom and dad. The couple attempted to explain to their son that they would do everything possible to locate Phoenix. Tom and Michelle dedicated the entire day to searching, creating posters, speaking with neighbors, and combing the streets, but there was still no sign of Phoenix. They were determined not to give up on their beloved pet, so they spent every free moment looking for him. Ronnie was devastated, and Tom felt powerless as he watched his son try to grasp why his best companion was gone. They had to find Phoenix. 5 days after Phoenix's disappearance, a flicker of hope emerged. Ronnie had been crying almost daily, and Tom wished this might finally be the good news they had longed for. A neighbor claimed to have seen an elderly man with the cat, but she couldn't provide any details about his whereabouts. Tom began to linger around the neighborhood, hoping to spot someone resembling the man, but his efforts proved fruitless. As months passed without any sign of either the man or Phoenix, Tom's hope began to wane. The family tried to move forward, but Ronnie's change was a constant reminder of the void left by Phoenix. The little boy often asked about his beloved pet, and Tom consoled him while hiding his own sorrow and guilt for not finding the cat. He felt responsible for not reuniting his son with his furry friend. Ronnie had lost his spark, becoming quiet and withdrawn, which deeply pained his parents. With his 4th birthday approaching, Ronnie showed no interest in celebrations. All he wanted was his cat back. Nearly a year had passed since Phoenix vanished, and each time Ronnie stepped outside, he clung to the hope of seeing his friend. Disappointment washed over him when he returned home, longing for his best buddy. The family had considered moving for some time, believing a new environment might help Ronnie cope. Eventually, Tom proposed adopting a new pet, and after much discussion, they decided to visit the local Cats Protection Charity shelter. Michelle was uncertain when Tom first introduced the idea. It was evident that Ronnie still had strong feelings about Phoenix, and she didn't want him to think they were attempting to replace his beloved pet. She took some time to explain to her son that getting a new cat was perfectly fine and that loving and missing Phoenix was still important. Seeing her little boy's face light up for the first time in 18 months since his best friend's disappearance gave her confidence that bringing a new cat into their lives was the right choice. On a bright Saturday morning, Tom and Ronnie entered the shelter. Tom had reassured his son that they were only there to look, with no obligation to come home with a cat, as he anticipated that Ronnie might find the situation overwhelming and wanted to safeguard him. The shelter was lively, with volunteers caring for animals and hopeful adopters searching for new companions. To Tom's surprise, Ronnie's face brightened at the sight of all the cats, especially a particular tabby named Orlando, who was playful and affectionate and reminded Ronnie of Phoenix. They spent some time with Orlando, and Ronnie appeared to connect with him. Tom felt joy watching his son laugh and smile again, almost moving him to tears. After speaking with the shelter staff, Tom discovered they could hold Orlando and return in a week to complete the adoption. Even though Orlando seemed perfect for them, he wanted Michelle and his older son, Matt, to meet the cat before making a final decision. Excited, Ronnie couldn't stop sharing his thoughts about the shelter and Orlando on the drive home. After being quiet and withdrawn since Phoenix's loss, seeing him so lively again was delightful. Tom held on to a thread of hope that this new cat could mend his son's heart. A week later, the entire family headed back to the shelter, excited to bring Orlando home. Ronnie had been talking about the cats he encountered all week and how much fun he had playing with Orlando. Michelle took her boys to a pet store to choose beds, toys, and scratching posts for their new feline companion. Ronnie was in his element, thoughtfully picking out items he thought Orlando would love. Now 5 years old, as Michelle watched her son navigate the pet store, she realized she hadn't seen him this joyful in quite some time. Yet they were about to experience a shocking surprise. Eager to reunite with Orlando, Ronnie took the lead but froze upon reaching his enclosure. Next to the tabby cat was a ginger feline. Ronnie stared in disbelief and turned to his parents. Michelle and Tom noticed the new cat too and were surprised by its striking resemblance to Phoenix, but surely it couldn't be him. Ronnie was less doubtful though. He began clapping and cheering, convinced that the ginger cat was Phoenix. Tom attempted to explain that there were many ginger cats, but he couldn't bear the thought of his son facing heartbreak again. Meanwhile, the cat acted oddly, mewing loudly and stretching its paw toward Ronnie. Tom's heart raced. Could it be Phoenix? Ronnie extended his hand, tears welling in his eyes. As his parents watched from a distance, the moment Ronnie stroked the cat's fur, everyone gasped in astonishment. The shelter worker opened the cage, allowing Ronnie to pet the cat. When the door swung open and Ronnie saw the ginger cat up close, he instantly recognized his best friend. Tears streamed down his face as he gently stroked Phoenix, who began to rub against him. All the sadness Ronnie had felt over the past 18 months poured out in that moment. Tom felt a rush of certainty. Phoenix was right there before them. They had come to the shelter to adopt a new cat, but fate had led them to their long-lost friend. The shelter staff explained that a compassionate woman had found Phoenix wandering the streets and brought him to the shelter. Although he had a microchip, it was still linked to their old address, making it impossible to trace his owners. Tom felt a pang of guilt for not updating the information after moving. The reunion was deeply emotional, with Ronnie crying tears of joy as he held Phoenix close. The affectionate orange cat purred contentedly, clearly having missed him just as much. However, one question lingered. What would happen to Orlando? The family desperately wanted to adopt both cats, but Orlando had feline immunodeficiency virus, FIV, which meant he could only live with other FIV-positive cats. Heartbroken, Tom began making calls to find Orlando a loving home. Eventually, a close family friend with experience caring for FIV-positive cats agreed to take Orlando. While it was tough not to bring Orlando home, the family felt reassured knowing he would be well looked after. They promised to visit him and stay in touch with updates from their friend. Once back home, Phoenix quickly adjusted as if he had never been away. Tom and Michelle made extra efforts to keep Phoenix indoors until he got used to the new house and neighborhood, wanting to avoid any risk of losing him again. Ronnie was thrilled to have his best friend back, and their strengthened bond brought happiness and healing to the entire family. The months without Phoenix were tough, especially for Ronnie, who struggled to understand his best friend's disappearance. Now that Phoenix was back, joy returned to Ronnie's eyes. Each night, he cuddled his beloved cat in bed, filled with gratitude. Tom and Michelle marveled at the transformation in their lives. Phoenix's return not only healed their son, but also strengthened their family bond. Tom began to cherish family moments more than ever. Meanwhile, Orlando thrived in his new home, with regular updates easing the family's worries. As life returned to normal, they felt immense gratitude for Phoenix, a cherished family member. What if Phoenix had never been found? Do you think Orlando would have filled the emptiness in Ronnie's life? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Thank you.